Hi, I would like to talk to you a bit today about how to write a critique. You might be thinking, I have no idea how to write to my classmate to make any sense and give them anything that would be helpful. So here's a plan that you can follow. First of all, read the entire essay. Don't make any judgments or marks just yet. This is the first thing I do when I write your essays or read your essays. I don't try to fix them at first. I just read through them. I get a sense of what you're trying to say. Then look for the thesis. It should be in the first paragraph or very soon thereafter, like the first sentence of the next. In this paper, you probably want to just look for the thesis in the first paragraph. Thesis should be, oops, what was I thinking? Thesis should be one sentence. You should be looking for a thesis statement that states very clearly what the argument is. If they're not stating an argument, if they're just stating fact, it's not going to be a good paper. In fact, it's not going to be the paper that I asked for. Please make sure that you are stating an opinion. If the thesis is weak, suggest a stronger one. Actually give them a thesis, say, hey, you might want to try, and then tell them what you think a better thesis for the paper is. Remember, you've already read it through once, so you have an idea of what it is they're trying to say. Look to see if there are any extraneous words in the thesis, and what I mean by that are words like very, really, just. Those are words that you just don't need. See, if they're elements of oral speech, you do not need them. See how much stronger you do not need them is than you just don't need them? So you want to get that just out of there. Finally, look to see if the thesis is embedded well in the introductory paragraph. You don't want an introductory paragraph that says the thesis is, or the question I was supposed to answer is. You want to start maybe with a definition that would help. A definition of the topic, introducing maybe both sides, giving a reason why the other side's wrong, and then put it in your thesis. Then I would look through the paper and make sure there are at least 3 P sentences, and that's the point, as it says in the Guild text. Check to see if the first sentence of each paragraph is a P. Now, I've suggested to some of you in your papers that you can mix up the PIE, but be sure they know what a PIE sentence is before they start messing around with the order. Check to see if the P is the first sentence, and if not, give your group mates suggestions on how they can improve it. Write it, or maybe delete it. Maybe they need a whole new point. Then, does each paragraph have an illustration? The illustration might be, or should be from the article that was assigned or the articles that you research. Now, in this paper, we only needed to use the article that was assigned. And does the writer appear to understand the article? Sometimes writers take a piece out of an article and they take it out of context. And then it just doesn't make sense, and it makes you wonder if the reader understood it. So maybe you need to explain something about the article to them. Finally, look at the E. Look for an E. Is there an explanation? Explain. Do they explain how the illustration supports the P? This is the hardest part for any writer, is to explain how the illustration supports the point. You know in your mind what the point is and how the illustration fixes it or supports it, but you've got to make sure that the explanation is there, what's in your head. So you're going to have to get inside your writer's head and see what it is that they meant by the P and the I if there is no E. Finally, this is when you look at sentence structure. You do that only after you attend to content. Then you are going to play with grammar. First, check to see if the sentences are complete. And I'm serious about this. Read the paper backwards and aloud. Read it so that you're speaking aloud and that the sentences are complete. It's just a better way to tell. See if the sentences make sense out of context, and to do that you go backwards, starting with each sentence, okay? Only after you've determined if the sentences are complete should you look at commas, apostrophes, and other important punctuation marks. If you're unsure of commas, visit that website I have there, and if in doubt, leave the comma out. That's my best advice. It is better to leave one out than it is to have commas all over the place. A woman that I do water aerobics at the pool said to me when she found I was an English teacher, "Oh, I have so many problems with commas. I put them everywhere, so I asked someone else to help me with my commas when I write something." And she says, "I'm so terrible at it." And I said, "No, you're not, because you know you have problems with commas, so you ask someone to look at it for you. That's a strength in writing. That is not a weakness. If you're unsure of your advice, then say so. Okay? So that's what you need to do if you are going to write that critique and give your classmate excellent suggestions to revise the paper.